Very, very excited, very happy to be here. So I'm from Kanpur, and it's a very colorful town, and with a lot of culture and historical significance. It also has a very unique way of families influencing the kids, and with that comes immense pressure to abide and follow the expectations which the families have of you. And that is both in personal and professional forms. This is the age you become an engineer. This is the age you get married. Now is the time to have a child. And this is where you stay. This is how you help your family. This is how you play a significant role in the society. And while all those expectations are absolutely valid, it is a firm belief of mine that how and when to do those should be a choice of mine. And I think breaking through those shackles is the best thing that I've been able to do for myself. With today's theme of being the catalyst for change, I think it is critical that we today understand that what our goals absolutely are. And before we know that whether we are even approaching the right goals or not, do we even know what we truly actually want? But do we know what we truly want is a clarity which only comes with enough self-assessment, self-clarity, being honest to yourself. But in the quest of just running after goals, are we even investing in that kind of activity to know what our goals are? Are those the ones which are decided by our inner desires, by what we truly feel is right? Or are they just influenced by the societal norms? And that is the clarity I want to touch upon in today's talk. So back in 2015, when I was doing my MBA, once my course was getting done, influenced by everybody else's choices, I was applying to a lot of consulting firms, big brands, big packages, people telling us that, after consulting, many career avenues will open for you. And that kind of became an influence in many of us picking a career choice after our MBA. And many of you possibly can relate to that because you're all at the cusp of making career decisions as well. My personal passion back then was storytelling. I wanted to try, unite and tie together communication, creativity, culture, along with technology to make an impact in terms of growth for organizations and also individuals. Being creative, being able to express our opinion was something I was extremely passionate about. And that did not truly align with the kind of consulting jobs that were coming. But just looking at the desires of others, I was tempted as well. And it took me multiple rejections during interviews and resumes to fall in a place that I could be brave enough to say that, okay, if I tried everything out and even then I couldn't succeed, that means there's a mismatch between what I'm running after versus where I truly belong. And I'm so glad that I could invest some time in that self-identification versus having to waste many years of choosing a career choice, which was not meant for me. I landed finally in marketing, which tied together all my passions: creativity, storytelling, communication. And I had a thriving career, luckily. And I always wondered that back in the day, what made me even think of consulting as a career option when it was not aligning with my personal strengths. And that is where I bring author Luke Burgess, who wrote the book Wanting, where they mention that we imitate desires of others. We look at other people wanting a certain thing and try to tell ourselves that maybe that is what I should want as well. We see other people achieving goals and associate our wants by their achievements. We let others tell us what we should be wanting. And that is called mimetic desires. There are two kinds of mimetic desires author Luke Burgess talks about. One is a thick desire, one's a thin desire. And the thicker desires are possibly more influenced by our own experiences during the childhood, during our upbringing, during our own experiences. And the thin desires are like, leaves which, keep coming and going on the surface of the ground, as the author mentions. And those are called thin desires, which are actually influenced by people's choices. And it's our responsibility to make sure that at no point are we getting influenced by what others are wanting us to do or what they are doing themselves. And we keep focusing on the thicker desires, which are based on our own strengths, our own experiences and value systems. And it doesn't come easy because it's very difficult to be yourself in today's world. When you see other people getting validation, facing great milestones and achieving success, it becomes very difficult to be yourself. And Ralph Waldo Emerson says, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is an accomplishment in its own, if I've not butchered the quote. And it's very easy to say that be yourself, find yourself, but it's not actually that easy. Multiple experiences, a lot of investment goes into it. I remember as a child, I had a bunch of limitations in terms of my speech. Whenever somebody used to ask my name, I could only say Shikhar because I couldn't pronounce the alphabet K in English, right? And I would say that my name is Shikhar, but you can ask my mother what my real name is because she can pronounce it clearly. I had speech limitations. My mannerism was a little effeminate. I was animated. My voice was very high pitched, as against the the heavy pitched voice of boys after puberty. And that also led to a lot of bullying in school, elementary, senior school, and college as well. And for a lot of time, I thought that maybe I should consciously try to behave in a certain way so that I'm more accepted, so that people are not bullying me. Maybe I should talk in a certain way where my voice is heavier, or maybe I should not move my hands or face around so much. Maybe I should try to be more masculine, less effeminate, so that I'm accepted by the bunch of people who are actually bullying me or making fun of me. And I did attempt that, but it did not stop the bullying because it was very clear the others could see through me that I was trying to be something which I was not. I was lying to myself. And that further added to the reasons why they were laughing at me. And when I realized that I was living a lie just for people who are not accepting me for no particular fault or wrong in my overall existence. Maybe there were certain things which I could tweak, say for example my speech impairments, and I worked around them, got better. Some of them still accepted, but I ultimately had to accept my own self. I had to tell that this is my expression and I absolutely own it. That understanding took some time, took some maturity to come. And I think somewhere around my late teens and early 20s, when I realized that, when I invested time in being honest to myself, in self-clarity, in assessing myself, could I pave the way for others accepting me as well? Today, as a member and an ally of the LGBTQIA society and an enthusiast of diversity and inclusion, I can say that back in my childhood, that's the mistake I did. I tried to live a lie to impress or to convince others that I was worthy of being accepted, while the correct approach was actually to accept yourself. And in many experiences of mine, I've found myself being accepted because I was not pretending. While others who were in the similar group, belonging to the queer community or dealing with any other impairments or handicaps, because they were pretending, they were still subject to certain kind of non-acceptance by others. And that clarity came to me, and I'm so glad, because even at work, I made sure that I paved the way with full acceptance of myself. I was the first queer person to announce within my organization that diversity and inclusion is a core principle of our people policy. And if anybody wants to speak, I'm available. And the significance of such things you realize when people from the community who were, or any kind of minority, would reach out to me that we are struggling with this non-acceptance outside and inside of ourselves. And can you please tell that how did you find that clarity? And then telling about my journey of self-assessment and acceptance becomes inspirational. And this way you make people an agency of change, because then they will tell 5 more people, and eventually a larger set of people who are battling such kind of exclusions will actually feel included in the society. While I was trying to lie, I was kind of telling myself that my happiness lays in other people's approval or acceptance, right? But once I saw the success of this method, that, if I accept myself, everybody else will does, is when I realized that my happiness or my goals of life cannot be decided by other people's choices. My happiness did not lie in the choices of others, in their assessment of right or wrong, in their valuation of different factors or achievements in the society. So what do I do in that case? I make my own happiness equation. I create a formula which works for my own happiness, which is completely dependent on how I see multiple factors, behaviors, habits in the world. And I create a rough estimation of all the things that are important to me, add them, sum them up to create my goal of life. So I thought about a lot of things which mattered to me, right? Health, success, money, fame, appreciation from others, good behaviors like inclusivity, or fun things like travel, all these things mattered to me. So I started giving some kind of a factor to each of these values, these behaviors, or these goals as sub-parts of my larger goal of happiness. I also kept in mind that there would be things which would take away from that, certain kind of bad behaviors from outside, certain kind of bad habits of my own, like procrastination, or certain things which are out of my control, like anxiety or any kind of rejections, any kind of failures. So I also allocated a negative value to it, trying to understand, trying to keep it realistic that while I would up the value of my happiness by controlling these, there would be a certain variable I won't be able to control, which I have to assess by keeping the negative internally and externally. But at the same time, also focus that how can I minimize the impact of things which are subtracting, which are taking away from my happiness. And that is when I realized that things which are not in my control, rejection or bullying or me feeling anxious at certain points, I have to reduce the factor, I have to reduce the importance I give to those things, so that even if they occur, they have the least possible impact on my larger goal of happiness. And that's how I formulated my own happiness equation, my own happiness formula. It's been working great for me. And I want to mention that during the pandemic 3 years ago, I moved to Goa. And it was a very conscious decision after I experienced how living there was, especially because it was important for my physical health and my mental health, very importantly after the pandemic, right? And what that city offered was nature, culture, great food, very good spiritual experiences, speaking with people who have such varied backgrounds. They are coming from all parts of the world. And that was very, very enriching to me. So I decided that can I up my happiness quotient? Can I up the value of my ultimate goal of life by accumulating all these together and making this shift? But all of that also came at a cost. And that I had to assess as well. And that came only after sitting, introspecting, and realizing that what this will take from me as well. So say my life and my friends in Pune, I'm going to give them up, right? I'm going to go away from them. It's going to take away certain monetary factor. Maybe my career growth, because I'm going to be working remotely, will also be impacted. But I had to tell myself that if I want the larger goal of happiness via these positive elements to be upped, I had to minimize the value I'm associating with those things, which is actually taking away from my overall happiness factor. And it's very easy to say that, get that self-clarity and make this change and make your own happiness formula and don't care about the world. But that's not really true as well, right? You have to focus on multiple things. Willingness to work towards it. Changing habits in the direction of achieving your goals. And as they say that the path to success is actually not as sexy as the goal of success itself is. And it's not as glamorous the way, the approach to it as the end result is. So you have to change your behavior, you have to change your habits, you have to up your emotional quotient, you have to make sure that everybody who's impacted by your decision does not feel excluded or blindsided by your actions. So that in totality, not only your happiness increases, but the larger pie of the greater good actually rises as well. It's been 3 years and I feel taking care of all these elements, being the catalyst of change for myself and then trying to build the agency outside of me through other people as well. I've been making sure that I invest enough time in introspection, in self-analysis. I do a self-audit regularly. So I understand that now and then, every now and then, whenever I need to, create a new formula for my happiness. Because the factors will change, my current situation will change, external factors which I cannot control, good and bad both, will also change. So you have to constantly keep investing to make sure that your life goal is achieved and it keeps enhancing. And you also keep enabling it further with more and more investment in terms of your better habits, consistency. And somebody was mentioning that success is very boring because you have to follow a routine and it doesn't come in one day, right? So you have to keep investing to multiply the impact of that happiness. And 3 years hence, I can say that I've been a digital nomad, working from everywhere, globally, in the country, but also making sure that my work is not compromised. I keep achieving the success because that's a key factor to my happiness as well. I've been in a different avatar other than my professional in terms of a nature lover. It was something which I was not very passionate about, but I built that passion to just up the quotient of my happiness, exploring the world, being a little more adventurous, being in the true lap of nature, also exploring my spiritual side. And luckily the city I moved to, Goa, offers that as well. So I could be a part of events and organizations which had a spiritual dimension to them as well. Making sure that the role I play of an ally of LGBTQIA and the pride community, the queer community, I also keep enhancing the impact which I can based on my personal experiences and the capacity I have in. So participating in podcasts, hosting diversity and inclusion events, making sure that my story is out there for people to read about is a responsibility I take in this avatar. I also help my father with his political side in Kanpur, so I get to invest time with my family. So I do that is another avatar. So I can say that all the combinations which I wanted to come together to fulfill my goal of happiness have happened because of the self-inspection, because of investing time in being honest to myself, in not judging what I want, in not aligning my wants with other people's wants, or not letting it impacted completely by what others might have expected out of me as well. So I could figure out in the moment, want it for myself. Do you guys know what you want for yourself? Thank you. That's all.